Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second ever Autonomous Nation. We are so excited to gather here. Thank you to Microsoft for being a great host. And we are excited to really promote the opportunities that exist for our region through autonomy. And that's really what this is all about here. So I'm really excited to have our great co-host here who has been a leader pushing forward autonomy in our region. So who are you, Trevor?
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for having me be here today to co-host. In full disclosure, I just found out I was doing this not too long ago. It was an emotional roller coaster. It was, hey, I might need you to co-host. Actually, I don't need you to co-host. I might need you to co-host,
Yeah.
and then, okay, I really need you to co-host now. So this is where we're at today, so that's good. But I'm Trevor Woods. I'm the executive director of the Northern Plains UAS Test Site. I'm situated up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. We're embedded in the University of North Dakota, but we really execute UAS strategy on behalf of the state of North Dakota. And I've got a few members of my team here in the audience. I got Chris Tyson up here in the front if you want to chat with us further on anything related. And Ryan Steenerson's somewhere out there. I don't know where he's at right now, but yeah, that's who I am. So thank you, Andrew.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Trevor. There has been a scheduling a programmatic change with Jeff DeCou with Autonomy Institute. Is stuck in Texas, apparently, so he needs some autonomous planes to get here, I guess. But anyway, we're gathered here to really with the mission of connecting the policymakers with the autonomous industry to make our region the most autonomous friendly in the country. I really believe that North Dakota's competitive advantage is our access to our policymakers. We can get everybody, all the decision makers in the same room here and really push that forward. So that's what today's about. So as we're going through the day, really think about that. This is all about public-private partnerships. We have friends from the Air Force, we have friends from Department of Defense, friends from the federal government here. This is all about collaboration. We also have friends from Minnesota DOT, so glad to get the cross the river representation here, so that's great. And really, when we think about and Grand Farm at large thinks about innovation, we think about innovation through collaboration. And there's really 5 key segments that it takes. It takes the corporates, the Northrop Grummans of the world. It takes the startups, the Edison Aerospaces of the world. It takes the universities and with what Mark and the team are doing with the Research Institute on Autonomous Systems. It takes growers with Mark Watney and the Farmers Union. And then ultimately, it takes government. So we want to create that Venn diagram to bring them all together. So that's what it's all about. I do want to give a quick shout out to all of our partners and UND for supporting this and getting this off the ground. And it's not possible without them, and also Microsoft for being the great host today. So just want to give a quick overview of the day. We'll have some content, main stage presentations, panels, things like that at the campus here this morning until about 12:30. We'll then have lunch. And then at 2 o'clock, we invite you to come down and bring some friends to Grand Farms location just south in Horace. So it's about a 5-minute drive from here, where we'll have some demos. So we'll have some autonomous drones, trucks, skid steers, tractors, things like that. So we're open to the public, so invite your friends, family, kids, whatever. But we're excited for that. A couple other things. You'll find the Wi-Fi or the programs on the back of the chairs, so feel free to scan those QR codes. And then there is some private meeting rooms for breakout meetings. This whole thing is about how can we create collaboration, so let's get those meeting rooms filled. And then finally, I really want to give a quick shout out to all of the elected officials and public servants that we have in the room. None of this is possible without it. I know that we have Sherry Haugen-Hoffert with the Public Service Commissioner. We have Bill Panos with DOT Director, Sean Riley, Chief Information Officer, and Chief Nerd for the state, I think.
I think he calls himself the IT guy.
The IT guy, there you go. So. I know that you've seen a lot of other state elected officials here, so we appreciate you for coming and serving the state and our region at large. So without further ado, I think we'll get it started here. We are going to invite our friends up from Microsoft to say a little bit of a brief welcome and how they're thinking about autonomy. So welcome up Dan Simmons.
Good morning. There we go, that's pretty good. One more time. Good morning. There we go. My name's Dan Simmons. I am Director of Innovation, ISP, and Gaming at Microsoft. I'm somewhat connected with this group, even though you may not know it. I grew up on a family farm in eastern Montana, western North Dakota. Of course, I worked for a neighboring farm to buy my first computer. As everyone knows, if you came from a farming background, they don't pay your kids on your own farm. What I love about this organization is it's really empowering the state of North Dakota and the state of Minnesota on innovation. Microsoft has the vision, the mission of empowering everyone and every organization to achieve more. There are two areas that are relevant in this space. The first is Project Bonsai. If you think about this space, many people don't have a data science background. And so allowing people to innovate in this space is incredibly important to us. Again, we want to empower everyone. If I think about myself, coming from a farm in North Dakota, this is right up my alley. Also, Project AirSim. If you think about innovation in this space, you want to ensure that failure has minimal risk. Project AirSim allows you to innovate in a space with minimal risk and allow you to create new models. Before I show a video, again, thank you for joining us at Microsoft. I'm incredibly excited that we're able to host you. I'm also incredibly thankful for the Emerging Prairie organization and Grand Farm.
Imagine your life without the internet. How would you connect with the world? In the 90s, I was working on the building blocks of what would become the internet. Now, most people can't conceive of their lives without it. Today, we're on the cusp of a new age of discovery: autonomous aviation. Autonomy is the most profound advancement revolutionizing the aerial metaverse. It opens the door to innovation by transforming the ways we imagine, build, and deploy aerial autonomy. But the deep complexity needed to train these autonomous systems has kept this technology out of reach for many. Microsoft Project AirSim is an AI-first platform where you can simulate any environment, then accelerate autonomy with pre-trained AI models to customize and extend aerial solutions, all without the need for expertise in specialized AI and data aspects. Inspired by years of Microsoft research, Project AirSim uses real-world, synthetic, and hybrid data from a multitude of sensors to simulate planet-scale, geo-specific environments under countless conditions to safely perceive, learn, and act. We are giving customers a programmable platform where they can build any solution they can imagine, test it in dynamic simulation faster than in real time, and improve it until it's validated and ready to certify to meet the highest safety standards to deploy in the real world. These pre-built AI capabilities lower the barrier to entry for autonomous flight. With this end-to-end platform, we are working with some of our most visionary partners to learn and discover in ways that simply aren't possible in the real world. With Project AirSim, Microsoft is accelerating mobility to give customers the power to reimagine their businesses in the age of autonomy. And this is just the beginning.
Great, thank you so much, Dan. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the AirSim, we invite you to talk to the friends at Airtonomy and Josh Reedy. They were featured pretty heavily in the announcement, which was always fun to see. Some global press releases from Microsoft featuring North Dakota's own Josh Reedy. Next up, we're really excited to I think North Dakota's at a unique moment here as we have new leadership at our universities with President Armacost up at University of North Dakota and President Cook here. And so, we're really excited to welcome up President Cook. I hear it's a busy week, so we appreciate you taking the time out on the first week of school. Are you missing the frat houses tour right now? Is that right?
No comment to that. Yeah, hey, thank you very much, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. And it is a fun week. Classes started, so you'll see a lot of students back into town and sort of having a ball so far. Started in May and having a ball this week. So everybody's been so welcoming. I'm incredibly appreciative and welcoming to me and also my wife, which is incredibly helpful as well. So thank you for that. I've met many of you in the room, but would love to just kind of keep networking and keep meeting people. So please reach out. I've got a lot to learn and a lot of people to meet, and please reach out to that. I'd appreciate it. So today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Michael Kessler. Dr. Kessler is the Dean of the College of Engineering. You can probably start walking up here, sir. So Dean Kessler has been at NDSU since 2017. Kind of a rock star when it comes to research, especially research that relates to the kind of things that you're all thinking about and that we'll be talking about today. He has grants from the NSF and the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Defense and NASA, I think, to name a few. And today he's going to sit down and I think you just recently got like a 13 or 14 million, or you're part of an I-Corps NSF grant too, which is, so he's not resting on his laurels. But today he's going to talk a little bit about the research that we do in the College of Engineering that I think is just in great alignment with what we want to do today, but really where we want to go. So with that, please join me in welcoming Dean Kessler.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. You know, if you've driven around campus and you've seen buses or benches, you've seen the tagline for NDSU, a student-focused land-grant research university. That land grant is something that we're proud of all of that. I love that logo. That land grant was, right in the heart of the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act, and that Morrill Act was an act donating public lands to the several states and territories which may provide colleges for the benefit of agriculture and the mechanic arts. What was mechanic arts in 1862 was, is engineering today. And, the engineering curriculum at NDSU, it dates back to the very beginning of the university with the Department of the Mechanic Arts, which grew into the College of Engineering. I can't think of a better topic than autonomous systems, especially as it relates to agriculture and the farm of the future, that represents the land grant mission like that in the 21st century. And so we're excited at NDSU to be a part of that. I wanted to tell you briefly about some of the research and workforce development we're doing at NDSU in that space. In the College of Engineering, we have 11 undergraduate programs, 17 graduate degrees, and 8 departments. And almost all of those departments have some activity by faculty in autonomous systems, various aspects of artificial intelligence, machine vision, robotics, those sorts of things. Pictured here is one of those, Dr. Paulo Flores, who you'll hear more about in his work this afternoon. He and Dr. Rex Sun will be doing demonstrations. Dr. Sun is working using machine vision and robotics on site-specific weed management using spray drones and a weed bot target spray system. Excited to have a new faculty that's joined us. Dr. Surya Congress is here, and he's in the Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering. And his work is really exciting. He uses drones with high-resolution cameras to assess civil infrastructure, including bridges and railways and dams and levees and pavement. He just spent part of his summer in Alaska, where he's using UAVs with close-range, high-resolution cameras to develop this photogrammetry technique, which takes many, many pictures and pieces them together to create a 3D model. These are then made into these digital, what we call digital twins, used to monitor and predict the lifetime of the infrastructure. So a huge opportunity there for assessing the lifetime and using that tool to predict and assess the quality of our infrastructure. Another professor in mechanical engineering, Majura Salikwa, is doing work on better control algorithms for autonomous navigation of robotic vehicles in unknown environments.
So he's focused on using these new control algorithms for things like autonomous lawnmowers and autonomous snowplows. I tell him that the dean of the college ought to get that snowplow prototype for my driveway. And using low-cost cameras instead of more expensive LiDARs to facilitate that. He's also working in using robotic devices in emerging application areas. He's working with Anderson Industries, for example, on developing a hay harvesting robotic vehicle, and collaborating with Sanford Hospital in developing robotic platforms for assisting nurses in hospital environments. We've got another professor in civil and construction engineering, Ying Huang, who's working on smart cities and how algorithms for self-driving cars in a mixed, where you have human drivers and autonomous vehicles, and how to do that. Electrical and computer engineering, we've got 5 different faculty working in machine learning, machine vision, hardware for machine learning, AI-based sensors. In computer science, we've also got a strength in artificial intelligence. 4 different faculty working in artificial intelligence as it applies to autonomous systems. And cybersecurity is another area that's really important for autonomous systems. Safety and security of those systems, whether it's a drone or whether it's a robot working in manufacturing, are critically keeping those secure. So we have at NDSU, the Institute for Cybersecurity and Research, directed by Professor Jeremy Straub. It's designated by the United States Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency as the National Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense Research and an area of strength. And we have other faculty as well. We recently hired a new professor in robotics, Dr. Inbei Zhang, who's working on what he calls humanoid robots, so robots that walk, and working on the way to plan motion in those walking robotics. So that's some of the work. I think we could have a whole conference just on the research work that's going on at NDSU in autonomous systems. But it's really exciting. It's a big part of many parts of our college. So in addition to creating new knowledge and innovation through research, we also are preparing innovative problem solvers through education. The engineers, the computer scientists that are graduating from our programs are going to be the problem solvers in this space for years to come in North Dakota. NDSU attracts thousands of students from out of state, many of whom stay and live and work in North Dakota, in addition to our own high school graduates. And more than 1 out of every 5 of the students that you run into on campus are in the College of Engineering, studying in engineering, computer science, or in construction science. Graduates from the programs in the College of Engineering make up 70% of all of the degrees conferred in the state. So in those programs. So these are really the workforce of the future. And we recently added some new programs. One is a new minor in robotics, which is taking off like crazy. Another is in the Department of Ag and Biosystems Engineering, our precision agriculture degree, which is really exciting as well. In addition to the work in the classroom, our students are very involved in activities. We've got over 30 student clubs just in the College of Engineering, and several of those relate to autonomous systems. So one of those is the Bison Robotics, and the Bison Robotics have more volunteer hours than any other student club on campus. They work with high school robotics teams and volunteer their time as coaches and mentors and judges. And then they compete in their own competitions, like the BattleBots. Some of you have probably seen those. A lot of fun. They build robots that then go out and try to destroy the other robots. The autonomous snowplow competition. We're a powerhouse in the competition among some of the northern universities, where we develop an autonomous snowplow and then compete. We've also done well in the NASA robotic mining competition each year. And we do the robot in 3 days. So our Bison Robotics teams take the high school first robotics competition each year, and they do that in 3 days, and they videotape the whole thing, and it's a resource for high school teams around the nation. Our Ag Society, our Ag and Biological Engineering Robotics team just competed last month and got second in the nation as well. And then our National Cyber League team had 56 competitors from NDSU, this last team, one of the largest representations in the country. And finally, we're also working on getting more students in the pipeline, so our outreach. And this is an area where we'd really like to partner with local companies as well. We hosted this summer over 500 K through 12 students in our STEM Kids Camp, where they learned a range of topics from computer programming to robotics to video game design. And this year we also had a high school Bison Cyber Camp, which covered cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, programming, and robotics. So we're excited about the next generation of students and engineers and computer scientists that are going to be a resource in this space in the future. So I want to just thank you for partnering with NDSU and letting us tell you a little bit about some of the activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Kessler and NDSU President Cook for your words here. And I may want to talk to you further later about doing battle bots with drones. I think that would be a fun thing, you know. But I don't think anybody from the FAA is here, so we can have that conversation. But the next person I want to introduce to come up to the stage here, I met him earlier this year in DC at a conference and have had the opportunity to visit with him further since then. He is with AFWERX, and he has taken an interest in North Dakota, which we appreciate. So I want to invite Divakaran to the stage, and you can let me know if I butchered your name.
Did it exactly how I expected. Good, I got a mic, sir. Thank you. It's always a good segue to come in after a university talks about all the programs and the workforce and stuff, because what are we doing here with AFWERX is looking at the future of technologies, aerospace side, and helping the future workforce look into new opportunities which they never imagined, like unmanned systems, and now with eVTOLs, advanced air mobility and stuff. So various programs on that side. So with that, let me start out. So I am Dash. I am the Senior Manager for Strategic Innovation and Partnerships for AFWERX. And show of hands, how many people know about AFWERX? So that's good. It's few people only. So whatever I say, you'll believe me. So AFWERX is the innovation arm for the Air Force. And when I say the innovation arm is everyone in the Air Force is innovating. But our focus is a lot to do with small businesses, startups, and preparing the future technologies by helping the companies that are ready today to bring their technology out and help them commercialize it and operationalize it. So a lot of our program is focused on small businesses. And why AFWERX? So AFWERX has been in existence for a couple of years now, but in 2020 was AFWERX 2.0, where we built this program. Colonel Nathan Diller, who's the director of the program, came in and worked with Will Roper on this program. And the main focus here is how are we going to overcome the valley of death when it comes to technology specifically. We have seen so many technologies that go through DoD but never make it to the warfighting capability or finally see even daylight. And that's because there is a challenge which is called the valley of death. And that's where AFWERX comes in to overcome that by creating a pipeline which can get the technology in less than 3 to 4 years in the hand of our soldiers and for various capabilities. So we have 3 programs: AFVentures, Spark, and Prime. AFVentures is an interesting program because that's your small business investment program. So if you heard about SBIR and STTR, that's the program. And AFVentures manages the whole Air Force SBIR and STTR program. So we changed the way how SBIRs are done because initially there would be different folks having different pool of funding, and some will manage the SBIR, some will manage the STTR. So it all comprised under one, and that's AFVentures. Our model is now being followed by the Navy. You can hear me, right? Am I live now? OK. So the focus there is, with the small investment, is that we know that the future of innovation is with startups, small businesses. We still work with big primes, and across AFRL, we have folks who work with big companies, the big primes. And now we're looking at placing our bets on the startups and small businesses. And this is where we know an example, especially this being an autonomy, and you heard about UAS and stuff. What happened with on the small drone side was that a lot of our American startups couldn't survive the market, competing against technologies which were cheaper, and they were good, but they were cheaper, and they couldn't keep up with that. And in a way, DoD feels that if we had invested our time and money into the unmanned systems program, possibly would have seen some different results. But now when it comes to other technologies, like on the advanced air mobility, and also on the small, mid-sized drones, large-sized drones, I think we can place our bets on the startups and help them get that, the initial funding to be to at least have a commercial viability. So AFWERX is the small business. Spark is where our airmen and guardians get an opportunity to bring their ideas and also, build prototypes and help them with, especially with being innovative, because innovation has to be from within also. So when we bring in technologies, we want to make sure they're able to utilize these technologies, but also they have brilliant ideas, which we want to help them build prototypes and also see how we can make their life simpler. In addition, we have fellowship programs, we have internship programs. We have a lot of things that goes on to help our airmen and guardians. The other program, which is Prime, which is the program which focuses on technologies that are ready today to be operationalized and commercialized. And one of that program, which is called Agility Prime, is what I'll be highlighting today. But end of the day, our program is focused on accelerating the technology and get it to the warfighters sooner. So as I mentioned, AFWERX is the investment arm. And as a quick understanding, there are different phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And between phase 2 and phase 3, we have STRATFI, TACFI. Now, this itself could be a whole day presentation, but I'm just going to give you a quick understanding. A phase 1 is basically deliverables. You can submit your proposal. There's two ways: open topic, specific topic. Open topic is where you tell us what we don't know and help us solve that problem. So that's where your phase 1, which is up to 75K, and specific topic is where we have challenges which need to be solved, and that's up to 150K. Phase 2 is where it gets more interesting. It's up to 1.25 million. From 750K, it went to 1.25 million. And this is where we need the small business, the startups, to find an end user within the Air Force that would be interested to sign an MOU with you. And after that, you can see as the funding keeps increasing, the STRATFI TACFI is an interesting program where we match. If it's a TACFI, it's up to 1.8 million. And if it's STRATFI, it's up to 15 million. So this is where we are placing our small bets and eventually helping these companies, one, get commercial viability. So we are focused on dual-use technologies. We are not trying to push these startup companies, small businesses, to focus on DoD as a customer. We want them to have commercial viability, commercial success. We are providing that funding to them for that. As they are getting the technology out, we will find use cases that fit that technology. Eventually, if we see that there could be some iterations where we could help and suggest changes, that is where we would go further into it. And you can see some of the investments for FY21. And one of that, you can see autonomy is 76.2 million we put in. And also in AI is 138.3 million. So we invest in a lot of technologies. And this is amazing because our program has been recognized across DoD and across the federal agencies. So we also partner with Navy, Army, FAA, NASA, you can name the agencies. We partner with them. Sometimes there's co-investment where we put in money towards a phase 2 contract for the federal projects. As I mentioned about AFWERX Prime, this is our key program, and this is where we are trying to focus on technologies that are ready today to be operationalized and commercialized. So this is where we have a bunch of primes in the pipeline, but one of which is Agility Prime, and you can see an eVTOL here. But what is the Agility Prime's focus is to look at electric vertical takeoff and landing aircrafts. So for those who are new to this, it's basically a larger drone that can take passengers and cargo. We won't call it a drone because this is advanced air mobility, and we would like to keep it under the name eVTOL. Within the DoD, we call it flying orbs, and that's an organic resupply bus. I don't know why that name came up, but yeah, we got names for everything. So the good thing here is we're not focused on the technology just as it is. We are trying to understand the electric propulsion side, the battery capability side, so looking at hybrid technologies. We are looking at autonomy, because eventually all these aircrafts are going to be flown autonomous. Right now, we have companies that have a pilot on board or an operator on board, as they call it, and some companies are purely focused on autonomous systems. So we are understanding the levels of autonomy, how we get there. We're working with FAA and NASA to achieve that. We're working on certifications for these aircrafts. And then the critical thing here is the supply chain part, the manufacturing part. These technologies are supposed to be everyday use. Like someone said, it's like a workhorse. And we want to make sure that it's operational. So parts, the parts that are required to keep it operational need to be easily accessible. So we are helping these companies set up manufacturing plants and help them in that side also. So we work across with other states that give benefits to these companies. So that's where I'm traveling around the nation trying to find the states that are ready to help these companies settle in and give them the tax benefits, the workforce benefits, and also when it comes to materials and stuff. So the 3 areas that we are focusing on is electric, autonomy, and the supply chain part. Now, these aircrafts are, as it said, vertical takeoff landing. So so they don't need runways. They're clean technologies, so zero emission is what the focus is. And as we look into from electric to hydrogen capabilities and stuff, so things keep changing. So this is a very interesting program because prior to 2020, before Agility Prime program was created, a lot of these companies were unsure when we would see urban air mobility or advanced air mobility in reality. So it is 2030, 2035. But now we're talking about 2025. We're going to be seeing at least certain operations taking place in certain states, and these will eventually scale. So we are working across with FAA to help identify the aircraft certification part. So we right now, the companies that come through the Agility Prime Air Race to certification can get a military flight release, a military certification, which helps them fly in military bases, get access to our SMEs, engineers, and we are able to give them inputs that can help them better their technology. So overall, we are, when it comes to numbers, we have put in $7 billion towards this program already. Co-investment with, they have brought in investors, and we have awarded 22 contracts to 14 companies. And the key things here is we also have been able to get 4 airworthiness done for companies, which, like I said, on the commercial side, FAA is still figuring out the commercial certification plan. We are able to work with them on a military certification. And through our partnership with FAA, we can, I would say in a way, help these companies cover like 70 to 80% of the requirements. The cost, we would cover it, and then they would have to do just the 10 or 15% remaining if it is required also. So we are working with FAA on this, and currently we have aircrafts like Joby, Lyft, Archer, Beta. They are all being tested, across in different bases. So this is the type of aircrafts, the area of interest that we are focused on. Area of interest 1 is 3 to 8 passenger. Area of interest 2 is 1 to 2 passenger or equivalent to weight capability. And then area of 3 is the cargo capability. Now, this does not say that we are going to buy these aircrafts at the end of this program or anything like that. It's basically we are helping these companies succeed on the commercial front. Our discussions with FAA is not about how we are going to be using it. It's about how they are going to be able to operationalize this for commercial use. So in the end of this, there's going to be a bunch of companies that are coming through the Agility Prime, but also, as I mentioned, the AFWERX, the CyberSitter program. There are folks who come with ideas which can get their funding. So it's like you have companies that have technology ready today, and then you have folks who have ideas. Through STTRs, they partner with universities, and they come with ideas, and then they build prototypes and eventually scale. So we have 2 pipelines to help these companies succeed. And end of the day, we are hoping that by 2025, we see some of these operations. By 2030, we see some level of autonomy reaching, and that is where success is going to be specifically on these aircraft. And hopefully Air Force and across DoD, other agencies will use this technology. So it's exciting time with, for the startup companies, but just think about it, it's not just eVTOL companies. It has a lot to do with AI, autonomy, cybersecurity, supply chain, a lot of these companies. So you have potential of a lot of traditional companies who focus on traditional ground-based systems or can now look into aerial systems. So it gives opportunities for those who have success to look into providing that success to these companies as they scale forward. So with that, this is my information, and I'll be around here. There are other folks from the Air Force here. We have the 348th Reconnaissance folks from Grand Forks, where the Global Hawks are flying. And then we have AFRL, RQ folks who are very interested in autonomy and terminal area procedures and stuff. So we have other folks from our team here today. So I look forward to talking to you all and learning what you all are doing. And hope you'll enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dash. Appreciate it. While you were talking, Trevor leaned over and whispered to me, Agility Prime is what we need to take advantage of. So if you fell asleep, just remember Agility Prime is what North Dakota needs to take advantage of. Speaking of North Dakota, we are going to welcome back up Trevor Woods here. So a lot has been said about what has the Northern Plains test site and the work that's been done in UAS over the last 10 years. That's great, exciting, yada, yada, yada. We're tired of hearing about the past. We want to hear about what the future is. So Trevor and a great panel is going to talk about kind of the future of UAS in North Dakota and what exists. And Mike Friedolf is going to talk about how, with Northrop Grumman, is going to talk about how in 10 years we'll have the Northrop Grumman headquarters in Grand Forks too. So here you go, Trevor.
Thank you, Andrew. And so, yeah, if our panelists can come up on the stage here, and we seem to have lost a microphone, so if we can get another one, that would be great. There we go. Just grab a seat. All right, so we have, we're going to keep this kind of short. So the format of this is everyone will probably be able to speak once, and so we'll kind of wait for Mark at the very end because I expect he would take up all our time, and so we'll kind of hold him here. And so it's good that you're sitting at the end, Mark. And don't worry, when he talks, he'll throw his zinger back at me. So I'm not worried about it. But as Andrew said, we focus a lot on the past and all the accomplishments, and it's important to highlight that there's over about 25 years of history here in the eastern side of North Dakota when it comes to unmanned technology, and it's incredible where it's at today. I mean, the investment up in Grand Forks, the ecosystem down here in Fargo, and then activity that's now going on the western side of the state. We're really an epicenter, and so the purpose of this here, of course, is to focus on the future and where we're going, and everyone here is kind of a snapshot of a cross section of this industry and has a particular viewpoint that I think is really interesting for everyone to focus in on. And so, my first question is to Frank here, and Frank with Thales. And in case you don't know, Thales is the partner to the state of North Dakota with the deployment of the Vantis network, which is the statewide BVLOS system. And so Frank, what do you think 10 years looks like as we work through building up Vantis and maturing the technology and getting it approved? What do you think 10 years from now is going to look like?
Great question. Every day gives us the opportunity to look into the future. So first of all, I just want to say I'm very proud to be part of the Vantis program. My team is working very closely with the Northern Plains UAS test site, the state, and really given the opportunity to answer that question. What is it going to look like? I think what North Dakota brings to the area of autonomous systems, and particularly UAS integration, is the opportunity to reimagine the entire aviation ecosystem, from vehicles that fly in the network to the infrastructure that's going to support it, to the commercial policies that are going to be put in place to allow for access to the airspace system. And what we're doing today is really setting the pathway for that aviation system to not only be in place here in North Dakota, but other states and around the world. So if I look at the different elements of the program, and I think looking back 5 years, I think today's UAS integration approach is much different than what it was 5 years ago. There was a lot of focus on the vehicle itself, communications links to connect that vehicle to an operator control station, but really not much more beyond that. But I think we learned a lot of lessons along the way in this short period of time that it is a system of systems approach. We need surveillance, we need communications links, we need the vehicles to meet certification standards. We need operators to be able to operate those vehicles for fit-for-purpose missions. And I think the industry itself is starting to evolve in a manner where it's not just the smaller UASs that are going to deliver the coffee to your front door or your Amazon packages, but it's really more of an approach where we see there's better use cases and more economic benefit for logistics support and last 30-mile delivery for parts exchange and it's certainly DoD and other applications outside of the commercial area. So looking 10 years into the future, the Vantis network is really providing the groundwork for where we're going to go. It's not just the infrastructure, it's creating an entire industry around it. Electrification, certification, drone operators, opening up new parts of an industry where we didn't imagine where we could be with autonomous vehicles 5 years ago, but today are becoming more of a realistic vision that we can see just over the horizon. So I think we do have a lot of work in front of us, and I think we as an industry tend to focus more on the technology. The technology is not the issue. We need to look more at regulatory and policy related issues. What's an appropriate level of automation leading to AI? And those are the challenges I think we're going to deal with in the short term, but 10 years from now, I think it's going to be a much, much different view than what we have today.
Thank you, Frank. And so this next one over to Mike with Northrop, and I really like the vision Andrew painted of having Northrop headquarters here in 10 years. So maybe we'll pull on that thread a little bit. Maybe that's a lofty goal, but the state, I believe, has been incredibly supportive with the investment with Grand Sky and all the activity going on. But from your perspective, with Northrop coming to mind, what makes North Dakota particularly attractive, and how does the continued investment in this ecosystem impact your decision making for Northrop 10 years from now?
Great, thank you. So it's interesting because I moved up here about 3.5 years ago, and Northrop and a bunch of visionaries, and you'll actually hear from George Rumford prior to lunch today, had a vision of what we would do up here at Grand Sky, and it was kind of build it and they will come. And fast forward, 5-6 years from that vision, and now they're here. Everything is here that we could possibly imagine for this UAS ecosystem. Right now, we've got, if you were there at the reception and we had the ribbon cutting yesterday, we've got almost 24 aircraft, Global Hawks out on our ramp. We never thought that would happen. We didn't know the Air Force would divest the Block 20s and the Block 30s, and now they're sitting out my window, which is amazing. And with the help of a bunch of visionaries, we're working on a program called Range Hawk, and that will carry us at least, through at least 10, 20 years plus. We're going to be modifying these aircraft for hypersonic missile testing. And so along with 24 aircraft, besides the snow removal that would be required for all these aircraft, you laugh unless you do it. But So we're going to be modding these aircraft come January, and the modification process is substantial. It's a gut of these aircraft, but we will be requiring software engineers, mechanics, mechanical engineering, you name every discipline. This is going to grow this industry, and this couldn't be done without the test site. We can't do all these things without the university, the Air Force. And so we use the term a lot, UAS ecosystem, but that ecosystem is going to continue to grow as well. It's nothing like you can imagine unless you're part of it, because my leadership came out here this week for this event, and people still wonder why North Dakota, right? And now we know why North Dakota. We see the successes. If you were there yesterday, you saw a NASA Range Hawk in that hangar. That aircraft took off this morning. It wasn't big pomp and circumstance. It was just what we do now. It's almost done easily because we're used to that now. But we got to keep our foot on the gas. And so looking 10 years into the future, I think this industry, but this grand sky, the technology park is going to look extremely different. We're going to have lots of partners. We're going to have more aircraft. This industry we're just starting up that roller coaster ramp right now, and it's pretty exciting to see where the future is going to come.
Thank you, Mike. And so it sounds like we have another potential future customer here of the autonomous snowplow. So Bill, you know, if with the work you're doing, you know, you might want to be talking with Mike here, and we can get something done to, you know, and also interesting, you know, your scenery of the Global Hawks. So we don't have mountains, but we've got airplanes, and so that's nice and good for attracting further talent. You know, Jorg, I apologize if I didn't say your name correctly there, but with aerial robotics, and when I think of an aircraft manufacturer and the challenges that are faced in the current climate of the regulatory and policy domain, it's an uphill battle. You know, Frank was mentioning policy issues right now to reach 10 years from now, and I'd like to hear your perspective on the aircraft front on, you know, what do you think is a technical problem today versus what do you think is a policy problem when it comes to building out the airplanes 10 years from now?
Okay, good morning, thank you. Actually, it's a downhill battle if your cash account is not big enough, you know, because you might go out of business before you get a certification today. Yeah, I do believe that 10 years from now, my dream is that we are in operation with drones and nobody talks about it anymore. You know, we deliver spare parts where they are needed. We rescue lives where they need to be rescued. And this only can happen if we move out of sandboxing, if we move out of segregating airspace. We need to really promote the one sky idea and not building highways for drones where they don't conflict with anybody. And what this requires is that, first of all, ancient airspace control systems need to be updated to most modern technology. We cannot manage an airspace with computers that are out of the 70s and 80s. You know, and we need to use AI and software to enable that, and we need to invest into it to make it possible. Second is, you know, I think manned aviation and unmanned aviation need to walk towards each other. So manned aviation has to give something up that they protect for many, many years. Like, you know, why should an aircraft fly in uncontrolled airspace without being seen? You know, a question, why should a recreational aircraft basically does not allow us to operate drones? It's one. But the UAS industry, especially as an aircraft manufacturer, also has to give up things. You know, we cannot go into the basement and cut a few carbon plates, buy in Alibaba, you know, an air control system and believe that we have a commercial system. So as an aircraft manufacturer, and I'm coming, you know, we dedicate ourselves as being an aircraft manufacturer that manufactures uncrewed aerial vehicles with aviation standards. So we have to grow up and professionalize ourselves, and the standards in safety and aircraft design that are applied to manned aviation for a very good reason today need to be applied in UAS. And what I see is that, you know, in the next 2 to 3 years in North Dakota, I would see that North Dakota becomes the prime example of one sky combined operation of manned and unmanned aviation, which develops into a blueprint that is being used in all other states in the United States and is being used in Europe to open up the sky and enable commercial operation 365 days a year, 24/7, because only that will make money. Everything else will be an experiment, and we are out of experiments.
Thank you, Jorg, and I appreciate that perspective as well, and I think it's excellent to be thinking about it from the policy perspective as far as professionalizing unmanned aviation today to get to that. As a test site, we've seen numerous airplanes come and go, all of them very good from a technology perspective, but they don't quite speak the same language as manned aviation, which makes it incredibly difficult from a policy perspective. So. We'll go a question here to Mark, and then I'm going to have one more to just tee it up to anybody. So Mark, we'll set the timer here for you. But Mark, from the university and kind of the research institute perspective, you hit all aspects of this ecosystem, from early stage research to commercialization to applied research with specific asks from the federal government, from the FAA, as well as companies coming to the university looking for assistance. And so, from your perspective, what do you see happening and progressing over the next 10 years to help any of our other panelists here continue to progress?
Well, thanks, Trevor. I appreciate that. First, I just want to sneak something in. It is so good to be here with so many great friends and Trevor. Yeah, thanks for the question. So, forecasting is always tough. That's kind of the background of the field I come from, Chris and others in the room maybe. I'm much better at forecasting the past 10 years than the next. But at the end of the day, I think it's about, there's a lot of different elements that come into it, but I think it's about accelerating the speed with which we are able to develop an autonomous system and field it. And there are a lot of different things that hold that back, to be honest with you. And I don't want to dig too deep down into that, but it is a challenging thing. There's many reasons why it's challenging, right? You have all these technological challenges, you have policy challenges, you have regulator challenges, you have safety requirements you need to meet. And so how do you do that? So Dash talked a little bit about the Valley of Death earlier. I've always kind of viewed it as there's kind of two valleys of death for a startup here. There's the kind of normal one, which is how do I develop a product and get to the point where I have people buying my product so I can be financially viable going forward. But then you have this regulatory valley of death as well, where people are like, hey, I'm going to go out and do this really awesome thing. And then 4 years down the road, they find out there's this thing called the FAA, and uh-oh, how do I do this, right? So at the end of the day, I think it's going to be about, we're going to see a massive acceleration of the pace at which we are able to develop autonomous systems, and you can pick anywhere along the TRL path that you want to pick, any point. You could say even from conceptualization of it to actual realization and fielding. That's what we're all after, right? We need to get these things in the field. We need to experience the benefits that these systems bring, and so we are going to accelerate that process significantly. And I think all the panelists had one of the themes that they hit on that I think is very true is we're going to see a lot more operation, and that's going to become much more commonplace. But we will always, I think, for a long time to come, have new autonomous systems that we need to develop and get in the field, and we're going to get a lot better and faster at that.
Thank you, Mark. So I'll throw up one more question. We'll call this one the quick answer. Anybody can take a shot at it. But, I spent some time yesterday with Sean Riley. And if anybody has ever known Sean, 10 years is actually a very short-term perspective for Sean. So he would be over here right now if he could speak. He's probably a little disappointed we're only focusing on 10 years. And he wants to know about 100 years out. And 100 years, we can't really quite predict the technology, what it's going to look like, but we can kind of predict and anticipate what we think the quality of life issues would look like with autonomous systems and drones and technology as it becomes part of our way of life. So look into the future, 100 years from now, what do you think, what does the perspective of the average person in North Dakota look like when autonomous systems becomes just a way of life?
100 years, you'll still be around. So. I think as we looked at preparing for the future on the Vantis program, we're looking at one critical component. I think that'll change the that'll change the state and change other states as well is the notion of a connected community. And I think that we talk about smart cities, we talk about how UASs will impact cities, we talk about autonomous vehicles and those things. I don't know about 100 years, but maybe 15 or 20 years from now, I think we're going to see those communities that may have been underserved previously will now be within reach. Right? So autonomous systems certainly open up the aperture of services that can be provided, bringing education to rural areas around the state and around the country. I think that's one of the most important things that we need to remember, that these systems really do change society in general, and it's up to us as innovators to make sure that that's done responsibly. But I think there's, if we keep the focus on how do we serve different areas and elements of the population that have otherwise had to drive far distances or don't have access to medical supplies or those sorts of things, that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going for, is when we start to think about how autonomous systems can start to support your way of life, especially in more of the older demographics, when you're in a rural property and everyone has to have that awkward conversation of, do you really think you shouldn't drive your car anymore? And this kind of technology opens up the door to remain independent throughout your entire stages of life moving forward. So that's exactly what I think is exciting with all of this. I'll pause in case there's any other last final comments. If not, then we'll hand it back over to Andrew. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, also, Mark, can you give a quick shout out for your new promotion that you just got? Can we hear a little preview for that?
Okay, so yeah, I just moved into a different position at UND with a focus on national security, but it's still a lot of autonomy. So yeah, I'm very happy.
Gotcha.
It's a team effort. There's a lot of great people making that happen.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we are going to break for a break right now. So we invite you to go out, meet somebody new. There's a photo booth, I've been told, that's just been set up, food and snacks, and we'll reconvene here at 10 o'clock. Thanks, everybody.